Hello, this video will walk us through the first technology parts of project number 6. Project number 6 has a research question that states describe the relationship between ankle girth and height and the relationship between ankle girth and weight. Which relationship has a stronger association? Why would they ask this question? Well, the idea is that in forensic science, the identification of a dead body is often based on an incomplete skeleton. So forensic scientists used ideas from Module 2 or Module 3 and other statistical techniques to predict the height and the weight of a dead person based on measurements of a bone or body part. So if you would imagine that they found some partial skeleton and they found an ankle girth, they want to try to predict the weight and the height of this person. So in this project, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the explanatory and response variables in each of the relationships. We're going to use technology to make scatter plots with the explanatory variable on the x-axis and a response variable on the y-axis. And then you're going to use technology to find the correlation coefficient for each of the scatter plots that you just created. And we're going to do a thesis and make observations about your scatter plot. So we will focus on steps 1, 2, and 3. So first thing we want to identify is the explanatory and response variables. If you look at this introduction again, the idea is to use a partial skeleton, a measurement of a bone or body part, to determine the height and the weight of the person. So because the height and the weight can be seen as a result or an outcome, we can think of that as our response variable. Therefore, in both of these scenarios, our explanatory variable will be the ankle girth. So now let's go through our data set and see if we can make our scatter plots and our correlation coefficient. Here is my data set of the body measurements, and I have already made a copy onto my hard drive or onto my Google Drive, and then I further, just to be safe, I further would like to duplicate this worksheet because I'm going to be deleting columns to make my analysis on the computer a little bit neater. So what I'll do is I'll identify the columns that I need. I need the height and the weight, and the ankle girth isn't until the second to the last column here. So what I want to do is, just for cleanliness and organization's sake, I will highlight the first two columns, gender and age, and I will delete those two columns. And then I'm going to click on the pelvic diameter that I don't need all the way up to the calf girth, and I'm going to shift and click the S column, and then I want to delete this. Now instead of deleting, I think I'll just clear it to keep this space open. I do want to copy the ankle girth, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that column of the ankle girth, and I will copy that column and I will place it over here. Let me place it on D so I can shift things around a little bit. So paste, and I have my ankle girth. Now remember that the ankle girth is the explanatory variable, and generally we want to see the response variable on the right side of that. So I'm going to take my weight column, click it, and then now unclick, and then while it's a hand, I'll click and then I'll drag it next to the ankle girth. Now I want the ankle girth again copied next to the height. So let's make a copy of this and then see if we can squeeze it in here. Doesn't look like we can squeeze that in, so let me drag the height over and then I'll copy it again and then I'll paste it in the first column. So here we go. I have 4 columns. The first one is ankle girth, the next one's height, and then the third one's ankle girth, and then the last one's the weight. And so I'm ready to make my scatter plots. Now I'm going to make the scatter plot and find the correlation coefficient for just the ankle girth and the height. And then you can do the ankle girth and the weight. So let's make the scatter plot. So let's click on A. Let me click on A again. So click and then either shift click or just click drag. Now I have A and B highlighted, the ankle girth and the height. I'm going to ask Google Sheets to insert a chart. And the first default chart should be a scatter plot already. And if it's not, you can go to chart type and look for a scatter plot. So here we have a scatter plot. I don't need the legend, so I can go to customize and clear the legend, say legend none. And then these dots look like there's a lot of dots that are kind of merging together. So we can go to series, and instead of doing circles, we can have something else like stars maybe, or make your stars a little bit smaller or larger. Let's keep it at 7 points, 7 pixels, and then you can change the color if you want. So here is the height versus ankle girth chart. You see that the ankle girth is in the x-axis and the height is in the y-axis. So that's already set up for us. Now let's find the correlation. So let's type in, just so we can label it, correlation, and then we'll say ankle girth versus height, because we're going to do the correlation for the ankle girth versus the weight as well. So the formula for this is an equal sign and then C-O-R-R-E-L. That's Corel. Let's get our open parentheses, and now we want to find the Y data first. So between the ankle girth and the height, the Y data is going to be the height. So let's click on that column. And then I'm going to type comma. And then they want the X data. So I'm going to click on the column for ankle girth. And then I'll close the parentheses. And now I have my correlation coefficient. So it looks like my correlation coefficient is 0.5709 or 0.571. Okay? So those are the keys. The keys are to get the two data sets side by side next to each other. We're going to insert, highlight, and then insert a chart, and then that would get us our correlation, our scatter plot. And then to find our correlation coefficient, remember that the command starts off with an equal sign, and then you're going to type C-O-R-R-E-L, and then open parentheses, and then you're going to want your Y list first, comma, and then your X list. Close parentheses. All right, so that should get you started. Once you got these scatter plots fixed up, you can send that over to your document, and then you just type your document up and get it ready for the rest of the paper, which will include your thesis, your justification for making your conclusions about which might have a better association, and then justify it by using the correlation coefficient. Okay, so I hope that helps. Good luck.